Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Conversations with Stories. And for today's episode, we have with us Mr. Gary Randolph. He is an award winning author and a storyteller. Over his career, he has been a software company owner, a college professor, and a web developer. And always he has been writing computer manuals, magazines, articles, blogs, textbooks, and more. And it was in 2019 that finally he also explored fiction writing. He and his wife live in Indiana, where, in addition to writing, he performs storytelling, bicycles, plays guitar, and drinks coffee with friends. Hello, Gary. How are you doing?
It's good to be with you here today.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I'm very happy that we were able to match our schedule. Can you tell us more about your journey as a writer?
Well, I've always, of course, enjoyed fiction. And uh, when I started doing storytelling um, back around 2013, 2014, a lot of that is just telling stories, uh, working on taking, and in my case, a lot of Irish and Scottish legends and reworking them to a storytelling format. And so fiction was kind of a natural outgrowth of that. I, um, I was doing that while I was still doing a lot of computer consulting and computer work. But in 2018, um, my I had twin grandsons who were born, and my son and daughter-in-law needed help from time to time with taking care of twins, and so I started spending an afternoon a week down down with them. And while you're holding a baby, you can't be doing much computer work, so there's a lot of thinking in your head, and out of that came some stories that I wanted to write as books and publish.
Wow. Okay. Was it like a beautiful afternoon, watching the twins, and then suddenly, oh, there's a story, something like that?
Right, right. You're holding baby and the baby's asleep, and you're thinking about something that you read, and you think, well, what about a story? How would that work? And then you just start thinking, well, this could happen in the story, and this could happen in the story, and I wasn't always able to jot things down while you had, especially if both of them were asleep at the same time, and I had my arms full. Um, but I would make mental notes, and then I go home and start writing.
Wow. So I think your background, like, being a college professor, has helped you really put that into words, those thoughts. Because that's one of the challenges, right? Of writers out there, or even those who have not really started writing. There are so many ideas in their mind, but then the challenge is how to really put it into written words. And you were able to do it. That's
I
nice.
never
So,
had a lot of
yeah.
trouble with starting with a blank screen or blank page, um, because I'd always had to do that in all of my other writing. When I owned a software company, I wrote the computer manuals, and you just start from a blank page and think, what do the users need to know? We'd write marketing materials, and you'd start with, okay, how do I phrase this? How do I start? So I've never had a problem uh, writing and putting things into words. Um, there's certain things that I certainly had to learn about how to do it right, and to keep a story going in an interesting manner.
Okay. Yeah. You've been writing different forms of articles, blogs, etc. Yeah, but which among those is really close to your heart? Like there's this, that kind of feeling.
You know what I'm doing now with writing fiction, that's really uh, the closest to my heart. I still write blogs from time to time, but I think even from being a child, I dreamed of writing stories. And so this has always been what I wanted to do. It's just uh, I needed to get to a place in life where I didn't have to do some of the other things financially, and I
Mhm.
could just focus on what I wanted to do.
Okay, all right. Now we go to the books that you've written. Can you tell us more about the journey of or the story behind the book?
The I have uh, a series of books called the Galactic Detective Agency, and
Wow.
then I've got some spin-offs from that. But um, the Galactic Detective Agency started with um, just an I actually with a random comment from another grandson
Mhm.
who was 5 at the time, and we were playing, and just out of nowhere he said a town called Potato, and I thought, what was that all about? And that comment stayed with me for a couple of years, and I kept thinking, why would a town be called Potato? And from that, I got the idea of a detective agency of space aliens that solve crime around the galaxy, and they pick up an Earth guy. Um, because there's a case that is involved with Earth, and so he gets swept up into all this, and there is a town that at least the aliens call Potato, and so this gave me an opportunity to put some comedy in there, and also detective fiction, which I love. The Galactic Detective Agency is to some extent modeled on the Nero Wolfe series of books by Rex Stout, um, where there's the genius Nero Wolfe in that story. We have a genius in the Galactic Detective Agency called Orrin Vilkas. Um, Orrin is Nero spelled backwards, and then the my Earth person Gabriel Lake, who's named after my grandson, um,
Mhm.
is takes kind of the Archie Goodwin role, where it's a first person narrative about his adventures. Only it's funnier than there's comedy mixed into the whole thing. Uh, One of the books in that series um, featured a couple of side characters named Pelham G. Totley and Blandings that I had modeled on the old P.G. Woodhouse Jeeves and Wooster characters um, that are just comedy books. And I like those characters so well that I spun them off into another series. And earlier this year, the first of those books came out called Viva Las Vegas. And I'll have another one coming out in very early 2024.
Wow, very futuristic. As early as now, we have something to look forward to in 2024. And I know that your grandson is really happy. Maybe has he read your book already?
Yes, the one who I named the character after, I've started reading chapters to him. And at this point, he's almost too old to have chapters read to him, but he still enjoys it. It's kind of our special time. And he enjoys the mystery of it and also the comedy of it.
Wow. That's a very good bonding activity as well. And,
It
you know,
is.
an inspiration also to the grandparents out there who might be watching us that you can still write. You know, age is just a number, right, Gary?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you've mentioned about your plan for 2024, but do you have other plans apart from releasing another book? Like maybe an audiobook or whatnot?
I've looked at audiobooks, and because I do storytelling and I've done some drama, I while I'm not a voice actor, I could do that myself and that would hold down the cost. I'm just not sure it's cost effective yet. From what I understand, um, for most people's sales, the ebooks are like up here and paperbacks are down here, and then audiobooks are less. Um, and so, and while it actually has a higher cost of entry,
Mm.
so I'm open to doing that, and it would be fun. Certainly, when I read the books to my grandson, I do different voices for different characters. So, I've got this in my head, and I could probably pull it off, or hire a professional narrator. Um, so it's an open idea that I may be doing. I might also do some other kinds of writing, um,
Mhm.
away from sci-fi. Maybe I'd like to get a little bit more down to earth. I have an idea of 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 a, a daughter and father detective team, and with all the
Wow.
personal dynamics going on with that. So we may pursue that.
Wow. And as of this time, I think you're drinking your favorite coffee as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe a children's story book as well in the future. Like, really for the young ones, like with
Mm.
how do you say it, graphics and all that. Okay. Yeah, so much exciting activities ahead. Any message or writing tips as well for our viewers out there who may want to explore writing?
Yeah, you know, G.K. Chesterton, who was an English author of the last century, who I admire a lot, he said, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. And, I think what he meant by that was that uh, you have to start out being bad before you can get good. And that is certainly the case. That's the case with any kind of athletics, but it's certainly the case with writing also. Um, it's almost like you got to write, so many chapters of something that's not very good, and then throw that away, and then start over. The first book I wrote, I don't market. I it was problematic in a lot of ways, and I said, okay, I just want to not do this at all and take what I learned from that and go forward. And I do think my writing has gotten uh, better over time, um,
Mhm.
because of that. Also, the way everyone writes is different. Um,
Mhm.
from the way I came about it, writing computer manuals, writing academic papers, marketing things, I tend to write very tight, write sparse. And so my tendency is I do a first draft where I'm just getting down the bare bones of the story. And then I'll do a second draft where I put in more sensory details and the thoughts of the point of view character. And then I'll go back and make an edit pass of that where I'm starting to look at grammar and things. And because I have quite a bit of comedy in it, and comedy is based on the right word at the right time, I make several passes and just read through it and hone the words on that. That's my technique. Um, but everyone can do whatever they want. Um, Neil Gaiman, who was a famous sci-fi writer, uh, his advice was to write down everything that happens in the story, and then in your second draft, make it look like you knew what you were doing all along. And that's something I really relate to. I think the more you edit, the better it gets. And certainly that's the way to get rid of grammatical errors and punctuation problems and misspellings, is to read it, read it, read it, read it in multiple ways. I read on multiple formats. I normally work from the computer, but then toward the end of the process, I make it into a Kindle file and transfer it to my phone and read it there. And I find reading it in a different format helps quite a bit. And then, get other eyes on it, beta readers or editors or whatever, so that you get some other opinions.
Wow. That takes a lot of openness, Gary, because some writers, the tendency is for them not to read again the things that they wrote because of course, they're gonna see errors and all that, and then they wanna do that and get hurt. But yeah, I agree with you. We have to keep reading whatever we wrote and then do editing as necessary as well. Do you have a
Mhm.
particular time of the day where you write?
Not necessarily. I tend to hit it in the morning, first thing. I'm semi-retired, so I kind of have the day uh, open to me. And when I'm not retired, that's computer consulting that I can do at any time anyway. So I like to hit it early with a cup of coffee,
Mm-hmm.
but then I need to take breaks over time. So if there's times when um, I feel like I'm done, I'll take a break. I might take a bike ride, or just go get lunch whenever I'm at, and then maybe go back to it later. Uh, I find I can do it at any time of day, but I prefer morning.
Okay. All right. Before we end, maybe you can invite our viewers to buy your books. Where can they access your books?
Um, well, I write under the name Gary Blaine Randolph, um, and I'm on Amazon. But maybe the best way to find me is to go to my website, which is GR, as in Gary Randolph, grstoryteller.com. And there are links to all my books. There's also videos from some of my storytelling performances, mainly some songs, but also a poem and a few other things. Um, so that's a good place to start.
Okay, we will be placing the link of the website of Gary on our description page so you can go check it out. Before
Great.
we close, I have just one last question because the AI is a buzz thing now among writers, and some are happy about it while some are actually scared because their jobs might be taken over by AI. Who knows? So my question is, what's your insight about AI and writing?
Um, AI can be a useful tool. I have friends who like use it for a draft of an email. Sometimes it can be good. We talked about the being intimidated by a blank page or a blank screen, and AI can make a first draft for you. But I've studied some and read some about what's going on in AI. There's a great story of an attorney here in the United States who used AI to write a court brief for him. And the AI put out this draft, but it included references to legal cases that didn't exist. It just made them up. And the attorney found himself in a whole lot of trouble. And what that really illustrates is that AI does not, at least currently, and I'm not sure it can ever get over this, AI doesn't understand the real world. AI is simply algorithms. And to it, anything that it's writing is just bits and patterns. And it can determine patterns and it can put them together in new ways. But first of all, it doesn't understand the real world. So if you asked, and one time I asked AI, I was trying to get some inspiration and for a cover design and to send that to the artist. And I wanted like a guy in a detective trench coat and hat holding a gun. Well, the AI drew a guy with three arms. So it didn't understand that people only have two arms. Um, and so what that means is that whatever AI writes, it might be good, it might be bad, it might be completely off base from reality, but it'll never be creative. Um, and that's been the big fight in Hollywood with the writers' strike and the actors' strike, is using AI to develop things, and an AI might write something that would be okay. I don't see in the foreseeable future AI ever writing something new and unique that'll take your breath away. There's times I read something. I love Terry Pratchett, the great British author of fantasy, and he could put together a sentence that would be at once very funny and very biting from a social perspective. And you read that and you say, "Oh my gosh." At the current state of AI, it will not do that. And so, as long as that's the case, the best writing will come from humans.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Gary, with what you said. Very insightful. And for those who are scared, like what Gary said, don't be scared because us humans, of course, will still be. I agree with what you said that we'll be more creative because we already had our experiences, right? And our experiences may not be duplicated by AI. They may have patterns, but not the actual feeling or emotion. But
Mhm.
let's use it to our advantage also from time to time. If like outlines, inspirations, etc. Okay. Thank you very much, Gary, for your time. I know you're very busy, and I hope you be successful also with your other plans for your books and your stories. And we'll really look forward to that. So this has been ERR Stories, and with me is Gary Randolph. And enjoy writing, explore new things, and see you again in our next episode. Bye, Gary.
Bye.
Bye bye.